So, welcome to the weekly current affairs roundup. This week, we'll discuss two important topics. Among them, one is very important from the mains perspective of view. That is population, issue of population. Why this topic is important? Because in the paper 1, population related issues is directly mentioned in your syllabus. So from that perspective, this topic is very important for us. Let me tell you why I picked this issue of population. Recently, United Nations Population Projections and Estimates launched a report by name United Nations Population Projection 2022, 27th edition. United Nations World Population Projection Report, Population Projection Report 2022. It's in 27th edition that was released by United Nations Population Estimates and Projections. For this report, United Nations, the various surveys, and they covered the population related stats since from the year 1950 among more than 237 countries. From the backdrop of this report, it is very important for us to discuss issue of population, especially in India, because it's directly mentioned in our syllabus and they have given certain projections for India. Before getting into the issue, let us first go through what are the projections that are being given in the report. The world population. The report says the world population is increasing, but the pace of increasing, the rate at which it is increasing is slow. It's getting slow. And the same report projected that world population will be around 8.5 billion by 20, and the very same report projected by 2050 the world population will be around 9.7 billion, and it is projected that by 2100 the world population will be around 10.4 billion. This is the projection they have given. At the same time, it's been noticed in the report that while population is increasing, but the pace of increasing is getting slow. It is less than 1% since 1950. And the very same report highlighted that India is going to surpass the population of China by 2023, and by 2023 India will become most populous country in the world. Right now the population of India is 412 billion, 1.412 billion, and the population of the China is present population, that is 1.426 billion. India is having 140 crores of population and China is having 1.426, that is 140 and 26 lakh change. So whatever the difference that is there between India and China population, that will be overcome by 2023, and India will stand as the most populous country in the world by 2023. That was projected by United Nations World Population Projection Report 2022. Clear? And about the regional variation, the very same report highlighted that by 2050, 8 countries among the world will compromise for more than 50% of the population, that is world population. I repeat, the report highlighted that by 2050, 8 countries in the world will contribute for more than 50% of the world population. Clear? Which are those countries? Democratic Republic of Congo, Democratic Republic of Congo, Ethiopia, and Next, India, Nigeria, and Democratic Republic of Tanzania. I repeat, in the report, it is projected that by 2050, 8 countries among the world will contribute to the 50%, almost 50% of the world population. So those highlighted countries are Democratic Republic of Congo, and next Ethiopia, Egypt, India, Nigeria, Pakistan, Philippines, and Tanzania. And very same report highlighted that more than 46 LDC, that is least developed countries. So population rise can be much seen in 46 least developed countries. 46 least developed countries. And next, aging population. What's the report is saying about aging population? The report says both number and share of aging population is increasing in the world. Both number and the share. In 2019, the percentage of the aging population around the world is 10%. And it is projected that by 2030, these 10% will reach to, and that contributes to world population, increase in world population. And next, working age. What the report says about the working age? Who are working age people? People between 18, so 15. 18 or 15, consider 15 to 64. Clear? The people between 18 to 64. 64. So report says the decrease in the fertility rate, and it increases the working age population. Working age population. So decrease in the fertility rate, that is new births are somewhat stagnant, and that clearly indicates that these persons are in the present progress right now, working age population. So there is an increase in the working age population. It's because of decrease in the fertility rate. International migration. What the report says about international migration? By the year 2050, the rise in the population can be seen in the advanced economies. Advanced economies, because of the migration. Why the people usually migrate to the advanced economies? For the job opportunities, just to enhance their skills. Okay, once they went to those countries, even they will get advanced. The skills will get advanced, they will get better opportunities, they will earn, they will make them more money, and just for the purpose of security reasons, they will make more kids. So thus it gives rise to more population in advanced economies. That is the reason that is given in the report on international migration. Clear? And what about global life expectancy? Everybody knows what is the life expectancy, right? Life expectancy. So in the report, it is projected that the present global life expectancy is 72.8 in the year 2019. Global life expectancy is 72.8. Let me write here. 72.8. 72 point in 2019. In the report, it is highlighted that by 2050, there is a chances of decreasing in the mortality rates, and there is a chances of increasing in the life expectancy, and that expectancy could reach 77.2 from 72.8 at present. So just with the increase in the life expectancy, obviously the population will rise. So this is about the highlights of the United Nations World Population Projection Report 2022. Let us look at the trends of population. The fertility rate was 5.2 That is from the beginning of 1950. And it came to 2. The trend shows somewhat decreasing. Okay. At the same time, National Family Health Survey 5, National Family Health Survey 5, 5th survey, that survey says almost all the countries except Mizoram shows the increasing in family planning trends. What about total fertility rate? What is total fertility rate? Anybody? What is total fertility rate? Just remember in the simple terms, the average number of children that women would give birth during her lifetime. That's the total fertility rate. Okay. So there are so many criteria for that. Okay, to decide that factor. Just understand it in the simple terms. So TFR. So the trends in the India shows that total fertility rate has been decreasing. Okay. But if we see in the case of Bihar and Uttar Pradesh, these states have reached the total fertility rate much above the replacement level. Much above the replacement level. Let me tell you the Bihar shows 3.2 fertility rate, total fertility rate, and for Uttar Pradesh it is 2.4, 3.2 for the Bihar and 2.4 for the Uttar Pradesh. And moreover, these are the states which actually contributed more number of the population, especially in the India. So since though the many number of states are performing well, these 2 states, majority of the states having the total fertility rate that is well below 2, but these 2 states are exceptional. Because of this, its population growing, the total fertility rate is much above the replaceable level, and even the working age population been increasing in India. By analyzing all these trends, in India, it is projected that the population may rise to 1.612 billion by 2050. 1.688. So 1.688 billion. That means almost 160 plus crores by. So that's about the highlights of the UN World Population Projection Report 2022 and trends in the Indian population. Since the report highlighted some projections, and it is very clearly in the report, it is very clearly indicated that India is going to surpass the China, and it will take the first place by 2023 as the most populous country in the world. So clear indication is shown in the report. And moreover, the issue of the population, it is directly mentioned in our syllabus. From that point of view, it's very important for us to look into the issue of population. That is, what happens if the population get increased? What is the positives and what are the adverse impacts, and how we should manage the population? So from this backdrop, from the backdrop of the report, that is United Nations World Population Projection Report 2022, we should analyze the issue of population. Clear? Next. Yeah. If population gets increased, what is the opportunities that is created by the rising population? The first one is demographic dividend. Whatever the workforce or human resource that is required for the economic growth can be delivered by rising population. Though India become rich in population, if we use it properly, we can constantly deliver or constantly provide the human resource that is required for the different countries around the world for their economic development. As we are seeing in case of India, many number of the software engineers, technical gains, okay, they are migrating to the countries like US, UK. These are technically high skilled people, because in the countries like US and UK, they are running short of the people who are having the technical skills. So we can provide them if we properly educate this sect of the people. And the second one, if you see in case of the Arab countries, so many people, especially from South Indian states, are going to the Arab countries just to do casual labor works, and even nurses from the Kerala, right? So what is the conclusion that we can draw, the advantage that we can say, demographic dividend? So human resources or the workforce that is required for the economic growth can be provided if the population get increased. But there is a condition attached that we'll see later. Next, creating consumption driven economy. The increase in the population can create consumption driven economy. I think you already gone through what is consumption driven economy in your regular economy classes, right? What are consumption driven economies? Very good, you people are studying well. Consumption driven economies. So economy in which people, it's a theory that says economy in which people are less dependent on exports. Less dependent on exports. That says the people in the consumption driven economy will get unanticipated incomes. So with the increase in that unanticipated disposable incomes, the spending will get increase. So you know what? They will consume more than a production. These kind of economies are dependent on imports. Consumption driven economy. What is the advantage by creating this consumption driven economy? Anybody? Imagine if you are manufacturing a product, say some phone, you are having some company and you are manufacturing some mobile phone. How will you get profit? How will you get more sales? You should hit the market with this product. More sales should happen. That means more products should be consumed. When the more product will be consumed? When there is a market, when there is a more consumption. When there will be a more consumption or the more market, that means market is nothing but population. Clear? Population. So once it creates a consumption driven economy, it became the opportunity for the investors along the world to invest in these economies. So the problem of the foreign investment will get easy, especially for this, because they will come, they will invest. Because if there is a more population, it's a clear indication. It's a huge market, right? Huge market. They can sell more, earn more. So that's the advantage of that. So it creates. It has chance of creating the consumption driven economy. Once it creates, what happens? It will attract the foreign investment. Why? Because these are the favorable destinations for them to expand their products. Okay. So the increase in the population in economic terms, that can be treated as a market. You can just exploit it by marketing your products. That's the thing. It opens up the prospects of emigration. It opens up the prospectus of emigration. So what does it mean? When there is an increase in the population, at the very beginning I told you, the people start gaining the skills, they will get educated, and for the more opportunities, they will go to the countries, they will exploit their countries, obviously they will earn income just to benefit them or to benefit their life. Okay, so what happens with this? Remittances of a country will increase. What is remittances? Don't worry, express in a language where you are good. Foreign currency. Okay, foreign currency that we received. Just imagine whether your brother or sister is working as a software engineer in America, or he went to pursue MS in America. They will be working. Apart from their expenses, they will be sending some money to you. Do you directly receive it as dollars? Obviously no. Indian currency. Where this go? Obviously it will be with the central bank, right? So what bank will do? Central bank will do with these dollars? That is how we used to make payments for the imports that we are taking. So whatever the currency that is required to manage the Indian imports that comes from the different sources. So remittance is one among that. Clear? With the emigration, it will increase as the remittance. Clear? And there is one more advantage with this emigration. What is that? It will increase the soft power of the country. It increases the soft power of the country. Which country? Emigrants country. Okay? Emigrants country. That means the Indian who went to the US just to do job or pursue a skill over there, he will increases the soft power of India. What is soft power? If identity of the country has to be, reputed or should grow throughout the world, it can be possible through two things. One is hard power, another one is soft power. What is this hard power? Sorry? Ability one, that's one thing. Sorry? A market, yeah. Economy, the power, money power that you are having, that's the hard power. Okay? Soft power is culture. So you will promote, you will increase the identity of your culture and your land, your country, that is through soft power. So increasing the population opens up the prospectus of emigration. So what are the advantages with that emigration? Remittance can increase, and next one is it increases the soft power of the country. Soft power, soft power India ke eppudu increase very levels lo untundi. I mean culturally diverse anamata. You take anything regarding the dress you wear, food, and the culture you follow. We are seeing. So, wherever వస్తారు, ఈవెన్ సమ్టైమ్స్ ఏంటంటే ఫేస్బుక్స్ అక్కడ ఇన్స్టాగ్రామ్స్లో చూసి ఇక్కడికి వచ్చి ఈ స్టైల్లో పెళ్ళిళ్ళు చేసుకోవడాలు. యా రైట్, యాజ్ అ సాఫ్ట్ పవర్. అండ్ ఈవెన్ సమ్టైమ్స్ yes sometimes assimilation takes place. Assimilation, that is through cultural contact. So that's the thing, that's the opportunities that can be created by the rising population. Clear? Any doubts? All right. So next, what are the adverse implications of the population? From the last 2 weeks in every class, I'm not bombarding this one board with heavy words or sentences. Once what happens if I do, rather than listening to me, you will start looking at those statements and making the notes. So that's why I'm just putting the keywords and explaining. And there is one more advantage for that. What is it? I'm giving a clear-cut structure for your answer writing. I'm getting huge response from the last 2 weeks actually, especially from your side. PDF. So you're supposed to ask operations department. It's okay, fine. Huh? See, I will tell you one thing. don't be under the impression that you will analyze the current affairs or start practicing on answer writing or essays on the current affairs after the completion of your basics. That shouldn't happen. You know what? This both should go hand in hand. That's the perfect UPSC preparation. UPSC always looks for the people with analytical skills, analytical ability. You can't expect a direct questions from your textbooks or the NCRTs. Those are for your understanding. You have to analyze the things. So on side by side, you should practice. Hardly how many questions we are giving a week, 1 or 2. Yeah. What are the adverse implications of the rising population? That is creation of the large livelihood opportunities. What is this? Creation of the large livelihood opportunities. Look at the heading first. You're hitting the point but on the wrong direction. Yeah, the problem of unemployment or the creation of employment for that huge population. So that will become difficult. Once there is an increase in the population, you know what? We should skill and educate them properly. Once we skill and educate them properly, they will contribute to the workforce and they will increase the country's growth. If they are not properly skilled or not properly educated, forget about this. The problem of unemployment, so that is employment. Creating more employment for such huge population will become the problem. And moreover, if we shouldn't skill and educate them properly, then there is a chances of demographic dividend may become demographic disaster. The population should always, you know what, should be an asset to the country. It shouldn't be a liability, right? Right? It shouldn't be a liability to the country. If we didn't skill or educate them properly, obviously they will become the liability to the country rather than assets. So once they become liability, what happens? The demographic dividend will lead to demographic disaster. So that's the first thing. And next one is population aging. Population aging, that means increase in the aged population. Increase in aged population. We have seen in the projection that there is an increase in the age, there is a chances of increasing in the aged population. Sorry? No, I mean aged population. Old age population. Okay, old age population. What happens if the old age population increases? How it adversely, impact? How? Sorry, you made a right point.
Increase expenditure on government.
Yeah, increasing expenditure creates a burden on the government or a government expenditure for social assistance programs or on health, so and so. That's the right point. Next, dependent populations.
More than working years.
Yes. Once the dependent population, increases, the more obviously expenses on them increases. Again, the both are making the same point. So that's the disadvantage. Clear? What happens if the population aging? That is, so you can, while writing the answer, adverse implication of the population, you can keep it as a main heading, then side heading has an population aging, and you can explain it in 1 or 2 lines. What happens if there is an increase in the aged population? Obviously, expenditure on healthcare will get increased. Once there is a dependency, definitely their expenses will get increased. If they are economically not well, who should take care of that? Government, right? Government should take care of that. Then obviously what will happen? The burden on the government will get increased, right? So that's the thing. Adverse implication of the population, that is from aging population. This population aging. Clear? And next, country might grow old before it becomes rich. Again, it's making the same point. That means, right now I told you, demographic dividend will get demographic disaster. If we didn't target this population, increasing population properly with the education and the skill, what happens? Disaster will happen. What is the disaster? They will become the liability to the governments. So obviously country will not become rich. what happens? The country might grow old before it becomes rich. That is the point. And next point, what is it? Large interstate disparities in population and growth rates. What is this? Can anybody? How it will create the interstate disparities? Make your point clear. Representation? Representation in government. Okay, next, anybody? High population with growth rate, obviously that leads to the same thing. Exchequer on the government, that is burden on the government. Anybody? You? Yeah? Income equalities, yeah, even that is fine. We can add an extra point, that is income equalities will get increase. Okay, if job opportunities are not provided or not skilled, if there is a skill gap. Anybody? Sorry? Sharing the resources, yes, sharing the resources, even that will get difficult. Very good point. Sharing resources. Sharing resources or distribution of the resources, we can say, right? Distribution of the resource, we can say. Larger interstate disparities in the population and growth rates. See, if there is a population increase, disparities between one state and another state. Imagine Bihar and Uttar Pradesh is having the more number of the population. Take the South Indian states like Karnataka and Tamil Nadu. There is huge migration from these populated states to these states. I'm just drawing an example. Okay, so once there is an increase in the population and growth rate, if they are not targeted or educated or been provided with the employment, or if there is a problem of sharing the resources, migration will take place, right, for the better opportunities and the livelihoods. So people start from migrating from one state to another states where they get the better opportunities and income. So if this happens, obviously it will create interstate disparities. Every day in the newspapers we will be seeing. How? Anybody can provide example? That is fine. Apart from that, regional reservation demand. Yeah, regional reservation, locals first. Good point. That will happen. Next, discrimination. Yeah, discrimination. Good. Discrimination happens from language and non-language, insider and the outsider. Insider and outsider. Okay, that will take place. Fight between the insider and outsider, just for the resource and even for the job opportunities. And you know what? Some states have tried to give preferences to the locals actually, and some groups actually forcibly, try to impose on the migrated people, forces the migrated people to learn their language, their state language. Okay. State language, and moreover, there is an incidence of fights, or quarrel that is happened on the migrants, street vendor migrants, right? We have seen all this in the newspapers. So that happens actually. So large scale interstate disparities in the population and growth rate, that will happen. How the disparities will be created? So once from the populated states, once they didn't get proper opportunities, or if they are looking for the well opportunities, they will just migration will take place to the well balanced states. And once the migration happens, the disparities will created between the states, and moreover the conflict between the insider and outsiders, even that will happen. So that is the point. Okay, and next, freezing on the parliamentary constituencies. Freezing in parliamentary constituencies. It's good that you brought in the theme. Anybody? Okay. In India, member of parliamentary seats distributed among the states on what basis? Yeah, on population basis, not on the area basis. More the population, more the MP seats. Okay. So this parliamentary constituency is going to freeze by 2026. Again, you know what? The number of seats has to be reallotted, or it has to be redrawn. The boundaries, okay, the MP constituencies has to be redrawn according to the number of population. If you are discussing population, once there is an increase in the population, what happens? The states with higher number of the populations will get higher number of MP seats. It's not an advantage, I will tell you. Advantage for the, yes, of course. That's true, populated states, okay. Think holistically, okay. Yes, of course. You know what, more number of seats will be allotted for the state with the highest number of the population at the cost of states who are well balanced their population. Even this create disparities between the states. Why? If one state get more MP number of seats, if another state gets a less number of seats, obviously they will determine the power. Once they get the power, of course they will do some politics, okay. Even we can see actually, more number of the revenues for the central government, that is generally from the industrialized states actually. Those are very less in number. But while coming to the financial disbursement, devolution or financial devolution, do they get the same amount what they are paying to the government? No, obviously it's distributed based on some factors, and population is one among them, right? So obviously states with the population will get more resource. Fine. So you understood this point, right? Freezing on the parliamentary constituencies. That is, by 2026, the parliamentary constituencies is going to freeze, and again we have to draw the rearrange the seats according to the 2031 census. So by that time, obviously, it's been projected that population is going to increase and we are going to surpass the China. What happens? The populous states will get more number of the seats, parliamentary seats. With that, the disparities between the states will increase. Clear? That's about the adverse implications. Next, effective management. How can we manage effectively the population? First one is rising the status of the women. What is this? These are all umbrella points actually. How can the rising the status of the women decreases the population, or it will be effective in managing the population? Educating, yeah. Job, good. Job opportunities and education. Yeah. Job opportunities and education. That's good. Decision. Even financial independence will get increases. What happens with the increases these things, or educating or rising the status of the women? She will decide. Okay. It's better to have a more number of kids or not. Okay. So, but with that, we can effectively manage the population. Rising the status of women. The next one, rising the marriage age of women. How can this be helpful in managing the population? Increasing? Increasing the marriage age. How can the increasing in the marriage age will contribute to the effective management of population? That I am asking. How will it contribute? No. Okay, fine. Can you explain me now? Yes? That's true. Yeah. So women will be very fertile when they are in their young ages, right? When they are in their young ages. Once there is a rise in marriage or women's marry late, what happens? Fertility rate, it gradually reduces. That means that can effectively manage the population. It's one of the way. It's a better way actually. And next, spread of education. How spread of education helps in effective management of population? Birth control measures, family planning, right? Educating on these things, that is the first. And when there is a more emphasis on the women's education, she knows the consequences of frequent pregnancies. So based on that, she will decide whether to have the more kids or not, or when to have. Okay, so with that we can effectively manage the population. And next and last point, what is development of agriculture and education? How the development of agriculture and education contribute to the effective management of population? Yes, of course, that's what I have written there. Development of agriculture and education, yeah, employment, increase in the employment, good. It increases the employment, right? Better opportunities, say, in overall we can say better opportunities will be provided. Better opportunities will be provided. What happens if the better opportunities is provided? Think in terms of population, yeah. I clearly mentioned effective management, how it's helpful in effective management. More than that, nuclear families. Okay, they will, you know what, get attracted, or they will confine themselves more to the concept of nuclear families that we are witnessing in the urban societies, right? When there is an increase in the agriculture, obviously income will increases. Okay, income or even the opportunities will get increases, and even the education. That means in overall, better opportunities is provided, their income will get increased. Once their income levels increases, they are well educated, what they will plan the family actually. So that's about the population. See, it's an one of the topic in your GS 1 of mains. I mean, because she is the one who bears child. Of course, even even men also. Even his fertility rate gets decreased when he's getting aged, and moreover, sometimes you know what, environment factors, even the food you take, even that actually matters. That's true. That's true. But she's the key determinant here. Okay. So that's about the population and associated issue. And I told you why it is important, because the United Nations has launched the 27th edition of the report. So in our syllabus, it is clearly mentioned that in GS1 we are having population and the associated issue. So that's why from the backdrop of that issue, it's very important for us to analyze this. So we have, I have given you the, statistics of the report and the trends in the India and advantages and disadvantages of the increase in the population. And next, effective management. So everything I have given. So if you get any question on the population, definitely you can hit it, right? It's just the bone and the flesh I'm explaining. So just with that, you can construct your answer. Clear? So just to make a note out of it, notes out of it, just store it somewhere and keep revising. Okay. Thank you. And what is the next topic for today? That is fall in the rupee value. This is important for us. Everyone of you would have well aware of this. So recently, the Indian rupee, why there is a fall in rupee value? What are the factors that actually determines the fall in rupee value? Before going to that, let me tell you why it's important for us. Since from the beginning of the 2022, the Indian rupee devaluating gradually, depreciating. Devaluation shouldn't be the word we shouldn't use. There is a clear-cut difference between this. Depreciating, okay? Depreciation. Fine. What is devaluation? What is depreciating? That you will know in your regular economic classes. But since the beginning of the 2022, Indian rupee is eroding its value. That means it's getting depreciated. It's getting depreciated. If we see in the, percentage of depreciation of rupee, even in the past decades, it is 3 to 3.5% per year. 3 to 3.5% per year. 3 to 3.5% per year. Meaning, every year, Indian rupee will depreciate or lose its value 3 to 3.5% of US dollar. But what is the change that we noticed recently? In the last 10 months, last 10 months I said, you are telling something? What is it? War. It's okay. We'll discuss it later. In the last 10 months, Indian rupee depreciated around 8.7% against the dollar. See the difference. Historically, it is noticed that annually Indian rupee will get depreciated by 3 to 3.5% per year. But what happened in the last 10 months? Rupee depreciated 8.7% against the US dollar. That means from 73.6 or 2, I think, from 73.6 or 2, it reached 80. So now for $1, what is the price that we are supposed to pay? 80. Exchange rate increased. And financial experts throughout the globe are predicting more depreciation of Indian currency, and they are writing articles on that. And apart from that, even the IMF, International Monetary Fund, has projected that whatever the depreciation of currency that we are seeing now, it may reach 94 rupees per $1 by 2029. Yeah. 2029. Clear? So because of this, whatever the current changes that is happening, it's important for us to know the reasons for the fall in value of the rupee. So what are the factors that actually determines the exchange rate? Factors that determine exchange rate. What are the factors that determine exchange rate? That's good. Exports, imports. Yeah, next. And apart from that, just tell me, what is exchange rate? Whatever the currency that you will get in relative to one currency. Okay, currencies that you will purchase in relative terms of the another currency. That is exchange rate. And what are the factors that determine the exchange rate actually? Okay, you know what? The value of the any currency is determined by its demand and supply. Okay, demand and supply. Value of the any currency is determined by its demand and supply. If there is an increase in increase in the supply, say, if there is an increase in supply, what happens? Increase in the supply of the currency, value will get decreased, right? Value will get reduced. What happens if there is a decrease in supply? The currency value get increased, right? These both are, you know what, the value and the supply of the currency, they are inversely proportional, right? If there is a more supply of the currency, its value will get reduced. If there is a less supply of the currency, then the value will get increased. Who will decide this demand and supply? Sorry? Who will decide the demand and supply of the currency? Please loud. You know what? That's an exchange rate determination. Market is the exchange rate determination. Okay. Sorry? Consumer. Even that is an exchange rate determinant. My God. Tell me in terms of India first. Huh? Right. RBI. RBI, in particular for India, in general, for any country, the central bank of that country will decide the supply of the currency. Clear? The demand, forget about the demand, the supply, whether to increase the supply of the currency or to decrease the supply of the currency will be decided by the central bank of that particular country in general. In particular for India, who decides? It's RBI, Reserve Bank of India. Reserve Bank of India. How the supply will be determined? How the RBI in general, so in particular, or central banks in general, determine the supply of currency or decides the supply of currency. Decides the supply of currency. How they will decide? Yeah, demand, of course, demand, yeah. Demand or the goods and services that is produced in an economy. the goods or the service you produced, and the money that should match actually. The money shouldn't be more than your goods or services, or it shouldn't be less. The detailed concepts you will study in your regular economy classes, okay, for time being. So, how the central banks will decide the supply of currency based on the goods and services that is produced in an economy. Let's provide one example. You know what? Say, high dependency on the oil, crude oil. High dependency on the crude oil. What happens? High dependency on the crude oil, definitely we will import the crude oil. Okay, once we import it, just think in terms of the India. Okay, we are dependent on the crude oil and we are making more expenditure on the crude oil, right? Making more expenditure on the crude oil. Once it is fractional distillation is done, we are making more expenditure on petrol, diesel, and on different fuels. Okay, that means we are doing more expenditure. That means what it indicates, we need currency, more currency to make expenditure on that. So who should fetch this currency? RBI. That means supply is increasing. What happens if the supply gets increased? Value will get eroded. And let me give you one more example. Think in terms of Forex reserves. What happens to the Forex reserves or the external trade? Forex reserves and external trade. What happens to the Forex reserves and the external trade when there is a increase or decrease in the value of a rupee? What is Forex reserves? No, there is also exchange of currencies. Foreign currencies? Yes, foreign currencies assets that central bank is having. Clear? And next, external trade. That is economic transaction that is happening between the different countries. Let's say example. If there is a fall in currency rates, exchange rates, what happens? Exports will become cheap. If our currency, if Indian currency will get depreciated, then which currency is having value? On what relative terms we are measuring? On dollar. So for more dollars, they can purchase more Indian rupee. Okay, that means whatever the products that is produced in India, with their dollars, they can purchase more products. Beneficial for them. On our end, exports will increase. Usually if you go to the market to purchase any product, what you will look for? Price. Where there is a better product and for a minimal price, definitely we'll go for it. Right? That's what happens. And what about the increase or decrease in the rupee value? What happens to the Forex reserves? That is reserve assets that central bank is having for the management of this, balances. Sorry, increase or decrease. What happens? Let's say imagine, if the currency depreciates, depreciation of the currency happens, that is rupees happen. Imagine, dollar value. Obviously, dollar value is increased. That means what it indicates? Obviously, the people start investing more on this. So, whatever the reserves we are having, people started withdrawing it. Apart from the Forex reserves, what are the foreign currency assets we are having outside? Okay, they start withdrawing it. So less result. We can there is chances we can't accumulate more Forex reserves, right? We can't accumulate more Forex reserves. So in that way, it affects on the Forex reserves. Clear? So that's about the determinants of the what factors that actually determines the depreciation or supply of the money in basic. Okay, for time being that is enough actually. The more factors you will learn in your regular economy classes. Okay, don't worry about it. And I have mentioned you some facts also. So why it's in news, what's happening, right? So for this we need to study what is the reasons for the fall in the rupee value. What is the reasons for the fall in the rupee value? First one, rise in the benchmark interest rate by the United States of America Federal Reserve. Like I said, the central bank will decide the money supply. Who will decide? Money supply. Even supply of the more money, even availability of the more money in the economy is also a grave danger for the economy. It should be well balanced actually. So just to protect the economy, the balance of that supply will be decided by the central bank. So what happened recently? The rise in the benchmark interest rates. Whatever the RBI do in case of the monetary policy, so in the same way the central bank of the America has increased the interest rates of the Federal Reserve. So what happens with this? Investors, whatever the investors, they are invested in the dollars in India, they start removing their assets. They start pulling out their assets. Why? Because dollar become a better destination for them to earn more income. So because of that, recently the value of the rupee been depreciated. That is the one reason, that is rise in the benchmark interest rates of the US Federal Reserve. Clear? And next, current account deficit. Current account deficit. What is this current account deficit? Can anybody tell me? This one is fine. Okay, exports minus imports. Okay, see, let's break it. Current account and current account deficit. What is current account? This account, current account, actually holds the transactions, that is economic transactions that is happened between the two countries. Okay. So what it indicates after the transaction, what is the net value? That is money we gained or we lost, that is positive or negative. If it is positive, current account surplus. If it is negative, then it is current account deficit. Okay, just try to remind in simple terms. That is the current account deficit actually. So what we can say, if we want to, we should, 1 minute. So if we can give the definition, then it is any current account deficit, for current account deficit, any shortfall in money, any shortfall in money. How this any shortfall in money will happen? By selling products, by selling our products to foreign countries, first thing, right? And money spent on purchasing goods or services of foreign countries. Clear? Second point, right? Let me tell you. See, what is current account deficit? That is any shortfall in the money that happens with selling the products to the foreign country and money spent on the goods and services of foreign country. Okay, that's the current account deficit. Let me explain to the example. Just imagine, when will be the current account deficit will be, surplus? Export is larger than imports. Then definitely, I sure that during that time CAD will be, there will be a CAS, that is current account surplus. Sure? No. Import is more. Pakka? Transaction is on high. Superb. Next. Sorry? Balance? Yes, balance of payments. That's what I'm, asking. When it will be, high? Surplus. So you people have told a few points. Let me give you an example. Imagine you told somebody told that when there is an increase in exports, right? When there is an increase in export, just imagine. Do we have a technology of manufacturing iPhones? Do we have a unit of iPhone manufacturing? Obviously the sole patents belong to the America, and it is the country who is manufacturing and branding and selling the iPhones, right? In case of India, take an example of the rice. India, this is US and this is India. So imagine India is exporting 1 ton of rice, that is 1000 kgs of rice to the United States of America. Imagine at the same time US is exporting 100 iPhones to India, that is 13 Pro. iPhone 13 Pro. What is the price of iPhone 13 Pro? say some 1.5 lakhs. 100 iPhones you know what, in terms of quantity, 100 iPhones is greater or 1 ton is greater? Arey, just listen to me here. Understand properly. In terms of, you know what, quantity, 100 iPhones are more or 1000 kgs of rice is more? 1000 kgs of rice is more. So what you people have said, when there is a more export, obviously, you know what, there will be a current account surplus, right? So what is the price of rice? Let's take 50 rupees or like 100 rupees. 100 into 1000. 100 into 1,50,000, which is having a more value. What happens in that case? Current account surplus or current account deficit? Current account deficit. So now tell me when there will be a current account surplus. Yes, value of the exports. That is, in international market, there should be a huge demand for the product we produced and our service. That is completely different. I'm telling you, no. You know what? You have to create more demand and value for your products. The product should be of the high value, and at the same time, it should be in high demand. Whether the product is in high demand or not, that is secondary. If the value of the product, okay, if it is high, and other countries are dependent on that from our end, okay, then there will be a current account surplus. So don't commit anything blindly without analyzing, especially in the economy. Clear? Even in the prelims, this is how UPSC sets the traps. Clear? So that's about the current account deficit. So you understood the concept, right? Current account deficit. So now we will see. So India's current account deficit. Because of India's current account deficit, you know what? Rupee is getting depreciated. What is that? You know what? In the past 10 years, depreciation, current account deficit of the India reached to 3.5%, especially in the current fiscal year. That's the point actually. So India's current account deficit is expected to hit 3.5% of GDP, 3.5% of the GDP in the. So now you understood, right? What happens if there is a current account deficit? What happens if there is a current account deficit? And you know what? Why they are expecting this 3.5 will touch this fiscal year? On what grounds? In the very beginning, she had told one point. Oil prices increase, right? Oil prices increase. That's good. Oil prices is increasing. Okay, why there is an oil prices is increasing? We can take the one more point. You know what? Ukraine invention. So even the countries, just imagine, certain countries are heavily dependent on the oils of the Russia because they are the cheap for them. Okay, due to the advancement of the Russia on the Ukraine, there is a steep fall in the supply actually. Steep fall in the supply. What happens when there is a steep fall in the supply? Obviously, the product will not be available for the countries, those who are dependent on that. Once it is not available, whatever the products that country manufacture using this oil, thus will get increased. When we are dependent on that product, what will happen? The prices will get increased. We have to pay more and we have to purchase. Okay, when we are paying more and we are paying purchase, what happens? The gap, current what I told, current account deficit, that gap widens. That's the old crux. And next, consistent high price inflation in India. Consistent high price inflation in India. This is a recent thing what happened. These are all the recent things. That is why there is a fall in rupee value actually. Consistent high domestic inflation. Obviously, demand was reduced like anything during the COVID period. Okay, everybody are running out of the money. So once there is a gradual opening of the lockdown. Okay, gradual once the government gradually reduced or done away with the restrictions whatever they have put during the COVID, what happens? There was not enough money in the hands of the people. Not enough money. Demand is there, but they don't have the money. At the same time, to generate the jobs, to boost the productions, what is required? We need to supply more money. Then economy will get boost. But once we supply the more money, what will happen? Inflation will increases. Okay, even that consistent high domestic price inflation in India, even that has led to. So these are the three reasons because of which some more reasons are there that you will reasons, and some more than reasons we can say factors. More factors are there that you will study under your regular economy classes. But you know what? Recently, the recent fall in the recent depreciation in the Indian rupee can be attributed to these three things. Next, what are the concerns that is associated? What are the concerns that is associated? And now you analyze and tell me. First one, concerns associated, that is impact on Forex Reserve. So whatever the things that we have discussed so far, so based on that, you tell me. So how, you know what, fall in the rupee value will impact on the Forex Reserve? In the very beginning only I told you. Okay, increase in the benchmark rates or increase in the demand of some other currency, what they will do, the people will get, you know what, withdrawing their assets. Okay, they used to invest somewhere else. That will affect our Forex reserves. That is the concern associated here. First concern. And next, imports become costlier. Imports become costlier. How imports become costlier? We have to pay more money. Why we should pay more money? Difference in value. Yeah, difference in value. Next, dollar value. Yes, dollar value is increasing. Yeah, you know what? Indian rupee is depreciating. Depreciating in terms of what? Dollar. In terms of value. In terms of what? What is the key determinant there? We used to, you know what, refer to the value. That is dollar. In terms of the dollar, rupee is getting depreciated. That means we are supposed to pay more number of the rupees for $1. So imports will become costlier. Imports will become costlier. Clear? Any doubt? Right? Next, net exports could be negative. How can it impact, you know what, negatively the exports? I'm talking about exports. I told you clearly that, you know what, let me tell you example. In the very beginning, while explaining the determinants, I told you, if there is an increase or decrease in the value of the rupee, our exports will get increased. So because our products will be available cheap in the international market, that's why people will purchase more products of us, that is, exports will get increased. But I made a point here. Net exports could be negative. How? Let me explain you. Yes, of course, exports will get increased. But there is some labor intensive sectors. You know what the labor intensive, right? Labor intensive, products that requires more labor, actually, more in terms of technicality. Clear? Take an example of, you know, industry of the gems. Yes, of course, when there is a fall or a depreciation in the rupee value, exports will get increased. And after that, I explained you value and the quantity, how that matters in the exports and imports. See, just take an example of this sector, labor intensive sector. In case of this, yes, of course, exports will get increased. But what happens? Even this requires some key raw materials that will be imported by some other country. Clear? That will be imported by some other country. Yes, of course, our exports are getting increased, but this is very important for us. Because of this, we are exporting, we are doing exports and we are earning. But this requires some key raw materials that is not available in our country. For that, we have dependent on the imports of some other country. Let's say US or China. In that case, what happens? We should import and we need to manufacture it and we need to export it, right? For imports, then what happens? Imports will become very costly for us. Then finally, what will become the net value? That is, net exports could be negative. Even in the last class, I explained you about the rare earth elements. So India is 100% dependent on the import. Just imagine medical electronic devices. We are manufacturing it, okay? And more products we are manufacturing it that requires actually rare earth elements as a key ingredient. Okay, as a key raw material. You know what, are we producing it? No, we are importing it. That's the critical thing for that product. When we import more and more, what happens? Even though if we export the end product, if we calculate the money that we paid for the import and the money that we are earning from the exports, finally what happens? The net exports could be negative. So that's how we should think. I should, you know, analyze or think. Okay. Cost push in. How? cost push inflation. Inflation, what is inflation? Rise in prices. That rise in prices. A rise in prices because of the cost. If the rise in prices of a product just because of the cost, or inflation is because of the cost of the product, then it is cost push inflation. Now can anybody tell me how this happens? Value? Which value? Sorry? See, very good. Imports, that means whatever the raw material that you use for the end product, if that becomes costly, imports become costly, that raw material product will automatically become the costly. So then what happens? Price will increase. What is that price increase? That is inflation. Why the inflation? That is rise in price is happening just because of the cost, and that is called cost push inflation. So what happens with the depreciation of the rupee? That is cost push inflation. Clear? Clear? Everyone? Next, final point. So you should explain this. It hurts the foreign investors. Somebody, Nikhil Verma dollar, Sridhar Verma FII. Yeah, that's true. Sridhar Verma, yeah, that's right. Foreign institutional investment, or we can say foreign investment. People will start drawing their investments, right? Obviously, once there is a depreciation of the rupee, they will look for the better havens. They wanted to invest their money somewhere where they are getting the better returns actually. So all of a sudden they will they start pulling out their investments. So once they start pulling out their investments, it hurts the foreign investment. Clear? Sridhar Verma, yes, you are right. Clear? So that's about fall in rupee value or depreciation of the rupee value. Okay, next. So that's for this week. Somebody is asking something. What happened? Nothing. Okay. So that's for this week. For the next week we'll pick some more issues and we will analyze. See, facts are less concentrated especially in the prelims examination actually. UPSC always try to pick the issues. Of course, there will be a combination of the questions both on the facts and the issues in the prelims. But every week I am concentrating more on the issues. Why? Because that should help you analyzing the coming trends first thing, and it should help you in writing the better answers, and even you should inculcate the habit of thinking or analyzing the things. So shall I give you a question on the topic that we have discussed today? You want it or not? Discuss the problems associated with rise in population. Discuss the problem associated with rise in population and how it can be effectively managed. How effectively it can be managed from the backdrop of recent UN World Population Projection Report 2022. Backdrop of, I told you that report, United Nations World Population Projection Report 22. It is for 15 marks. So 2 sides will make 1 page, right? 2 sides will make 1 page and 1.5 page. You are supposed to write it in 1.5 page. That is for 15 marks. You know what? Whenever you will be writing the answer, how you should maintain the word limit. Let me tell you a trick. If you practice in the UPSC paper, you know what? Even if you write very legibly, hardly you can fit maximum you can fit 6 words. Maximum you can fit 6 words in a single line. Okay, if you write 5 or 6 words in a single line, that is legible actually. That's very legible and it's clearly visible. So based on the number of the line, you will easily get to know what's your word limit. And one more thing, whenever you write the answer, Just for 15 marker question, 5 to 4 lines of introduction and 5 to 4 lines of conclusion. That is 5 into 6. How much? 30 words. So 30 words of introduction and 30 words of conclusion. So whatever the introduction or conclusion you're supposed to give, you should sum up in 5 lines. That is 30 words. So you're done with 60 words. For 15 marker, you're supposed to write it for 250 words. So you're done with 60. So you're left with 180 words. So for 180 words, how much you should write? Maximum 8 to 10 points. And one more thumb rule, whenever you are writing it in the point format, don't go beyond 3 lines. Even when you keep the side heading, don't go beyond 3 lines. When you're writing it in the paragraph, in case of the general studies 1, 2, 3, 4, maximum 5 to 4 lines. In case of the essay, you can go up to the 10 lines. Clear? Whenever you practice the answer, follow this format. And you can apply the same thing for 10 marker question and even the 20 marker question that been asked in the optional paper. Clear? For 15 and 10 marker question, you shouldn't write introduction or conclusion not more than the 5 lines. Then you will easily get to know what are the words that is left for you and how many points you are supposed to hit on the paper. Okay? Just say for 10 marker question, just you are supposed to write it in, answer in 150 words. That means 3 or 4 lines of introduction and conclusion. Even if you take it to 4, that is say 6 4s are 24, 24, almost 48, 50 words done. You are remained with 1 or 2 words, hardly 6 points. This is how you should maintain the word limit. If you write excess, your marks will be reduced in mains. Clear? So thank you. We'll meet again next week with few more topics.